All right, folks, welcome on back here to close out our week this Friday, January 14th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Mario loud and clear. First to the punch. I'm surprised Chuck's not there for that. Great to see Leda. Great to see Ray, Will joining us as well. I'm sure all of us kind of just waking on up, joining us once back again here. Skip and Brian just coming back as well, loud and clear. Perfect. All right. And for all of us, once again, on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well. So we have a lot to dip into here today. I ended up getting a few different emails just over the last couple of days for all of us on social media there, just kind of requesting a couple of different cryptos and for me to go over them briefly. So I'll try and save, a little bit of time for that at the end. Great to see Gene and Phil joining us in Cyber Group as well. So let's start with the stock on the screen first. We're going to start with the hour trade, relatively new IPO. Ended up getting listed, just as of like the last week and a half, really. Ended up making a big pop and drop, as you could see over the course of that time. And well, for today, this early afternoon ended up making a pretty nice run up from like 5 to near 650. I kind of emphasize that because high of the day 649. The way I like to teach that within the phase 2 stock course through our Traders Talk coaching. Well, if there's no buying interest at 650, what's going to make us think this thing is going to even have a chance of trying to go up higher? So it didn't hit 650. There was no real big volume filled on the ask at 650. And of course, pop and drops can happen. A false breakout where it could break above that price and big volume gets filled and it slams right back down anyway. But that's pretty telling to me. It hit 649, not 650, but nonetheless, ended up making that pullback. It ended up bouncing all the way down to 6, ended up pulling back down. This is going to be funny. Before this meeting started, and this is totally just, to myself. I didn't mention this to anyone in Cyber Group, but I was saying to myself, let's see if this can like maybe pull back and hit a low ball price of like 584. It would have filled me. It would have filled me. I didn't put my order, or I didn't keep my order out there. I had it out there just momentarily, and it just was kind of taking its time here. So I pulled it. It would have filled me, but for right now, it doesn't look as good still at this point. So I don't know. I like the early afternoon run up. I like the volume so far across the afternoon, but I want to see if there's anything looking a little bit more decisive within a direction. I don't know if this is going to continue to push on up. We hope for that to be the case, but let's see if there's anything else looking a bit better first. All right. We had a couple of other stocks though that were on our side list and maybe just on the morning watch list or afternoon list from the past few days. Ended up making a nice run back up, and SBEV is that stock. Ended up actually making a much bigger pop here today compared to the last few. This one more so took place just shortly after the market opened up. Ended up making a nice gradual climb off of 2. But man, once this ended up breaking above resistance off of 210, 215 there, no looking back, at least, yet. So, stock ended up running up really well. I think it got halted even at one point. Ended up getting halted at like 9:41 Eastern time. Reopened up at 9:46. Notice the open price here for all of us inside Cyber Group. Again, this is something that we teach throughout our main curriculum, but otherwise we've talked about this throughout various of our Traders Talk workshops. 273, that's the, as I call it, the opening halt print. So, quick little lesson here. We got a little time here for right now. So 273, we'll just draw a quick line there. And that typically becomes a pretty big level throughout the course of this day. Now, the issue is on this type of stock, though, it ended up gradually moving on up. It kind of just coasted along underneath the highs there around 330, 325-ish. So normally when that happens and it doesn't pull back, for a long time, if it ends up beginning to make a faster drop, sometimes it could break right down below support and there's no looking back. Let's see. Well, it could have led to a quick entry, but unfortunately, it didn't end up pushing up any higher at the time. Ended up beginning to pull back, and then from that point, it's just been pretty weak since. It's really had a tough time trying to break above those peaks there from earlier into the late morning. For right now, in fact, actually, it's trying to build some support above that 273 line. But if it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way the stock's going to go. And I was pretty wary of this stock continuing to push up today, given how much it popped up beginning from Tuesday's trading. I see a stock go from like $1 or sub-dollar all the way up to 2, and then obviously now exploded. Now it broke over 3. I mean, hey, can it keep going? Are there stocks that have made an even bigger pop or move up over a period of time? Yeah, I'm sure, but we don't want to get spoiled in that regard, or greedy, rather, I should say. But, yeah, I mean, at this point right now, if this fails to make a really clean move off of 273 here, if it breaks below it pretty strong, that's it. I mean, I'm not going to put this on our watch list even. I expect that to happen. So, if it ends up holding and running, and by the end of this meeting, then we'll come back to it. The GFAI stock too. This one was more from this morning's pre-market trading. This one ended up making a really nice pop early on, but more importantly, this goes back to a pretty simple lesson of just resistance becoming support. So 123 was a pretty big pre-market iceberg level. It was holding underneath it here after 8 a.m., and the iceberg was there throughout most of the pre-market after. Well, ended up beginning to break out shortly after the open. Resistance became support, took off, right? So, yeah, there is more to it than that, but it is as simple as that for the most part. That's our underlying philosophy. So, that's what propelled the stock to make such a clean run up. We're not necessarily expecting it to hit 216 the high, but what we do expect, and this is exactly what happens here. It's just to say, for as much as the stock goes up, you can't keep expecting it to. So, off a major volume based resistance, the next major one ahead, let's say like two, I would anticipate a false breakout. Popped above it. It was a clean pop. That was a 16-cent pop over that level, but came right back down, and the rest you could see is history. Just never really ended up making a clear move back up. Perhaps a couple of bounce plays here and there. It's pretty low risk for me to put this on the watch list for the afternoon. So I guess I'll write this on the side for right now. I would have no problem just adding this to the end if we don't really have too big of a list. Good spreads, good order book. The only issue is that it might just be more exhausted now. Already made two bounces back up. How likely is it for it to continue to break new highs? I'd say pretty unlikely. Maybe it can get back up to two, if not maybe like 180ish here coming up. So is it really worth it? We'll come back to this at the end. All right, so we talked about the first two already. What we'll do is just go right from top to bottom, of course, as otherwise, and we'll see what else or we'll see what can be added to this list. We don't have anything yet, actually. MYNZ. I saw this pop up on my Benzingo radar earlier today. Check the chart, but it's like really spotty, and now it's breaking a new high. But the order book is just so illiquid, so it's probably a low flow, super low volume stock. It's like a crapshoot. I'm not trying to trade a stock like this. It's day before a holiday, or last trading day before a holiday, at least. Of course, for all of us here, on Monday in the U.S., Martin Luther King Day. So that's on January 17th, coming up this Monday. Markets are closed, so there's not going to be a whole lot out there. That's what we expected, at least for the morning. But with the way the market's been moving, we've had a couple of good opportunities throughout the day. But again, we got to be a little picky here at this point. So PIXY, this PIXY trade also from earlier this week ended up making a nice pop and drop, and then continued to push up in pre-market the next morning. Well, today ended up making a nice higher high, ended up running up pretty nicely after the market opened up, but not a whole lot happening here right now, so pass on it. All right, so we keep it going. ATIP, not a whole lot happening here, and then we'll kind of skip through. Norman called out CENN earlier, or just a moment ago, I should say, and it's pushing up pretty nicely for right now. So yeah, the way this looks, this actually will be the first one on our main list. Mario saying the Rely trade pushing on up. Well, that's number 13. We'll get to that here coming up. MLCO. I was a little wary of the casino stocks this morning. Whenever there's like major news out with Macau, and there's the action in pre-market or after hours news perhaps pertaining to that, and some of the casino stocks begin to show some action. There's not as much to it after the market opens up. I'm sure that's going to be wrong at some point. I'm sure at some point, if there's like major casino news, we'll see a big move altogether. But this was like pretty choppy. Not a whole lot happened here on this trade. All the other casino stocks are pretty expensive otherwise, like LVS, obviously Win. MGM's even getting a little pricey now. All right, so we keep going. Here's the Rely trade. Mario calling it out. Yeah, this one's been on fire the last like month at this point. More on than off. The stock's been on our watch list, side list, if anything. And well, for right now, this afternoon, this watch list here. All right, cool. Mark says CENN was a ticker change from Naked. Whoa, really? I didn't know that. It's not like life-shattering news to me, but NAKD is just a stock I've known for years, right? So I didn't know that. Interesting. The more you know, right? Norman picking up 4 cents on that CENN trade right now from entry 295, got out right under 3. So pretty simple exit there, Norman. Nice trade. Now, this BBIG trade, thankfully, this thing's been becoming more of a stock to put back on our side list, morning watch list here, otherwise, here for today. Ended up making a nice move after the market opened up, pop, and then when it drops down like that, after like even going into 10 o'clock, you really don't expect as clean of a move back up as it made. So I turned away from this trade for a little while after like 11:30. I had to jump onto a office call throughout the late morning. Took about like 45 minutes, so I come back and it's like 12:15, I think, at that time. This thing was already at like 4:20. It's insane. This thing ended up making such a big move back from Wednesday of this week, even when it was at like 250, ended up making a move all the way up towards like 450-ish or 430-ish, you could say that is. For right now, even beginning to make a nice little slingshot back up. So I don't know. This stock, I mean, I feel like I could add to our watch list too, kind of in the same line of thinking as the GFAI trade. I'll come back to this at the end. Kind of put this on the side list here for right now. Another stock, not Rely. Let's make it a bit of a shake off of 9 right now, but PL. This one's been on our watch list, throughout this week. Ended up making another nice move here this morning, up over 12% right now. Popped from like 560, ended up topping off at first around like 610-ish, and then, of course, as you can see, broke out higher later on. But keep this one in mind as a good side list stock going forward. It doesn't have the best liquidity on the books, so the more that wears off, then I would probably take it off your side list. But just from throughout like the last few days this week, trading over 16 million shares back from Wednesday this week, and then Thursday just about 7 million shares, and today near 10, probably by the end of the day. So this thing trades a lot of volume. Keep this one in mind. All right, so BPIG we talked about, Rely we talked about. I think my scanner's refreshed on me there. Let me just quickly check here. Otherwise, seeing on the gainer side, any other familiar names? Market's kind of trying to begin to go back up, I guess, for right now. The last few bars, last 5 or so minutes. CISO. I don't know. I feel like this might be like a glitch from TradeStation platform, something to do with a reverse split. So pass on that for right now. I kind of figured that from the morning. That doesn't happen often, but FTCI, nice move on the way down here for right now. It doesn't look so lively here, going into the afternoon, but shortable near the lows. That part I'm kind of interested by. It's just the fact that it's so lifeless here, right? So, I don't know. For right now, even on this one, I'm going to pass on, but that's like the type of pattern that you would want to see for a stock on the losers list, with it being near or at the lows and being shortable or easy to borrow if you can get the shares from your broker. BRLT, I could say the same on this thing. Is only trading like 600 shares a minute. That is bad. All right, so folks, I think there's not much else that I really can find on the loser side so far. There might be something more than or up or down more than 5%. So for all of us in YouTube or Facebook Live, or for all of us inside Cyber Group like Grant or Mario or Norman or Kathleen, Brian, Skip, let me know if there's anything else that you folks see. RJF here on YouTube asking about the Vine stock, VINE, not VYNE. Let's just clarify that. I guess after yesterday, right? Uh, Vine ended up popping at least prior to 2:30. Things got like a really empty order book though, so I'm not too particular about that type of trade here. If it had a more liquid book, perhaps I'd be a little bit more interested in it, but yeah, not a whole lot happening on it right now, at least after that pop. Mark D on the hour trade. Well, at this point now, we only got 2 stocks on the watch list. We had Rely and CENN, so at this point now, we may as well add hour. I wouldn't mind adding GFAI, like I said. The only issue is that I feel like it might be pretty exhausted at this point, trading over 127 million shares. I would stand by that for right now on that trade. BBIG is more volatile than that. I feel like there could be just better opportunity if you're comparing those two. So, I'm not as drawn to BBIG as like the Rely trade or Hour even, but I'll slip this one on the back end. Brian says everything kind of slow. Yeah, I would agree. Let's take a look at Canon, says Norman. What is it? Like 9% here, 10% here? CAN? Is it all the Bitcoin stocks? Nope, clearly not. Go to crypto here at the end. I had a couple of requests to go over Ethereum. What else we have? We had Ethereum, we had Solana, and then I got one for you, and it's just I'm not a fan of the coin, but we talk about patterns, and in terms of stocks, you don't want to be putting personal interest into your trade. Well, there's a coin in crypto land out there that I want to talk about. I think it's setting up. It already has for a pretty nice move. I feel like I might even be late to the beginning of that move, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Going back to Canon, it looks good. The chart looks good. I feel like aside from that spike of volume, though, that big one, there hasn't been a whole lot to it, and it's been dropping off. So that's my concern. But the chart looks good. It has good liquidity. We don't have too many stocks on our watch list so far, so I don't feel like I'm overwhelming you with 13, 15 stock watch list. So yeah, for right now, I'll put this on here too. Not a bad call. Brian guessing Phantom FTM. No, that's one I want to talk about. Or actually, I'm not going to talk about that here today, but that's one I have talked about and still uber bullish on. I'm not ashamed to talk about that one. All right, so let's go into crypto here, at least pretty briefly. And then, hey, if there's anything else, folks, for anyone that's disinterested in crypto, if there's anything else that's making a big move right now in terms of stocks or coming up, if there is, keep calling them out. Let me know. We're gonna wrap up here once we're done with Bitcoin and a few of these others. So for right now, just keep it on the daily chart for right now, at least with Bitcoin. But ended up making the bounce off the 500 EMA, and I was going over that with you folks heading into the last few days, heading into the end of last week, into this week, and for right now, at least, beginning to shake around. Not a whole lot's happened, at least since. If anything, I had expected more of a consolidation area around the 500 EMA as opposed to above it. So. So far the reaction it's playing out better, a little bit better than I thought. I'll take it. But I know I'm not out of the doghouse. So I would really love to begin to see, at least in terms of the 6-hour chart right now, in terms of the moving averages that we've been covering, for this to definitely begin to make its move back up towards the 100 EMA, if not even make a stronger break above it over the next few, days. That might be a series of bars, probably about 12 or 15 bar series here. But, it wouldn't shock me if we begin to see this make the push back up towards that green EMA, the 100. So, just keep that in mind over time. Yeah. Otherwise, in terms of the others out there, whoops, I did not mean to do that. I probably just messed that up a bit. But in terms of Ethereum, really briefly, this is the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. So this is where you can compare Ethereum's strength in relation to Bitcoin, as well as most likely others. Predominantly, you could use the Bitcoin dominance chart for that. But if this is beginning to show strength, then a lot of cryptos within the Ethereum sector would begin to show signs of life too. So, with that in mind, you happen to see on the daily chart this begin to try and hold support over the 100 EMA. I think it's going to be a bit of a process altogether. And, this is not going to be any sort of instant big move up, big move down, I believe. Typically, the pattern would go if Bitcoin begins to make a really sharp drop. That's where you tend to see the other altcoins and perhaps Ethereum included go with it. So that's something to keep more of an eye on. But otherwise, if Bitcoin's stabilizing or even beginning to make a small move up, then this isn't going to make as big of a move up altogether here, this Bitcoin or Ethereum to Bitcoin pairing chart. All right, so that's what I did right there. All right, so really quickly, we'll get to Solana next. And if you can read the top of the screen there, there's the one that I don't really want to talk about, but it's actually making a hell of a move right now, and I think it's setting up for a pretty bullish pattern here. Solana altogether, I think this is relatively bearish given how much it's already moved up over the last year and a half. So with that in mind, this has clearly made a bit of a rounded top, and it's begun to break under the 100 EMA here over time on the daily. So I wouldn't be shocked. And I said this a little while back. I think even as it was beginning to pop here at the time, to see it begin to pull back towards these highs as an eventual support. That might be a long process here at this point. And since that time, it really hasn't done much. It's kind of coiled up here within this range. So over time, I do expect this to begin to pull back a little bit further. That's all I really got for you here in terms of Solana. But let's go to Dogecoin. This is one that, like, this is like the meme coin, in terms of crypto land out there. This is the one that Elon Musk backed, early on, and made a big pop up at first. So this is the Doge to Bitcoin chart. But in terms of just basic patterns, I ended up noticing this like a week and a half ago. I never mentioned this to you folks out there at the time, or maybe like I probably mentioned this. Let's say like, or I thought of this to myself. Let's say like late last week. So not a week and a half ago, but roughly about a week ago. So, it's beginning to make a really nice push up here on the hourly right now. So if you go back to basically January 7th, 1 week ago, it was probably already here at the time. So it's beginning to set itself up for a move, ended up showing a nice pop, and over time began to make higher lows, beginning to push up. And in terms of just trying to trade anything crypto related, following anything in terms of a pairing with Bitcoin is pretty pertinent. So you could see with Dogecoin here, ended up making like a bit of a pop here over time. So that's just something to kind of keep an eye on. And in terms of just the daily chart, you kind of see this with stocks all the time in terms of a short squeeze. If we happen to see Bitcoin dominance begin to weaken and all of these altcoins begin to show some strength in the bull rally here, then unfortunately, and it's so sad to say because this coin itself altogether really serves no purpose, no mechanical purpose in terms of like usage. But this Dogecoin could set up for another big rally. Think of it like an AMC type of play. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for you in terms of crypto land out there. We'll talk more, Phantom and perhaps Cardano next week. Those are the ones that I'm still in heavily myself. I am not in Dogecoin. I'm not in right now. So just full disclosure there. All right, so what do you got for me here, folks? Grant says Wynn Casinos looks good, or Wyndham Hotels, WYND. Win. Trying to push back up. I don't know. Pretty expensive though. Brian says he's really liking Cosmos Atom. That is one I'm definitely a big fan of too. And I don't think I've mentioned that publicly here, so I'm always super transparent on that. But on the back end, I am very bullish on that as well. Phantom, Atom, and Harmony one, and that one I think I've showed in the past. All right, so folks, going once, going twice, going thrice. I think that we're just about good to go here. All in all, we got about 5 stocks to work with. I mean, pretty decent list here altogether, actually, between Rely, BBIG, Hour, CNN, and Can. All right, folks. So for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, keep the questions coming in. If you have any questions, feel more than free to send them on over to Josh at c2trading.com. If you would like to join us live inside our live trading room, feel more than free to go right down to the link on the banner below the stream just to get yourself started. For Grant, for Norman, Brian, from Mark, for all of us otherwise live inside Cyber Group. I'll be back on the mic right at 3:30 Eastern time to wrap things up heading into the close. Take care.